2023 was an amazing year for video games, and it was very difficult to place games of the year for me in a list-like order, but I do hope you enjoy and let me know any notable titles that I have missed or not mentioned. But without further ado, here are the games of 2023.
The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog is a real game that came out this year. This official Sega game makes Sonic and all his friends on a train where somebody has murdered Sonic on his birthday, and it's up to you to solve it through visual novel type gameplay and an interactive story. This game is free and really hilarious. It's a great game to just throw on stream with your friends for an evening, just some wild stuff. I love how in touch with the fandom Sega can be regarding Sonic, and even as someone who doesn't care too much for the Sonic games, this one was really funny. As a big rhythm game fan and an unconventional battle royale enjoyer, I was keeping an eye on Headbangers Rhythm Royale. I love games like Fall Guys and Nintendo's 99 series that really takes the battle royale genre and makes it something other than a first-person shooter. What we get with Headbangers is more akin to audio-based games instead of purely rhythm, with most minigames being a variety of memorization or Simon Says type gameplay over something that I was hoping for, like something more competitive. A bit disappointing for what I was expecting it to be, but this game is still pretty fun, and it is on Game Pass if you have that. This is how my very first game of Headbangers went.
Finish! You're the master headbanger!
Oh my god! I won! Holy shit! I've taken a bit of a hiatus from multiplayer games to focus further on my backlog and YouTube channel, but I did get to experience the current craze that is Lethal Company. Absolutely frights and laughs dominating the flow of this game with just enough flair and intrigue to keep you delving headfirst into danger. Lethal Company is an early access, but so far it is promising in that at least it's getting an old soul like me back into some multiplayer games. The real crux that makes this so fascinating to me is the use of the proximity voice chat and the need to be on a team that can coordinate while also kind of dealing with stressful situations of scary monsters trying to get you, all while you're trying to meet your daily quota for loot. It's a great balance of having to go into the unknown for the quest of finding items, and it's just a really fun game. It's very laid back, it's a $10 game early access, and I do recommend it.
And you guys... Wait, what? Ah!
Oh fuck. Get it? He's on me. I'm critical. Pokemon Sleep finally came out this year, if that counts. It's alright. You mostly play it while you're sleeping and then feed your Snorlax. That's kind of cool. Honestly, right now I'm a little bit blown away with Starfield. I have seen enough of Starfield to know that I want this game, and I don't need to see any more to sell me, because I went in being moderately excited, just on the fact of it being a Bethesda game, to now I'm very excited for Starfield. What was one of my most anticipated games of 2023 turned into something a little bit different. Bethesda debuts a grand space exploration game in Starfield that had myself and many others very excited for the possibilities of what we could do, bearing in mind this game coming from the creative minds behind the rich worlds of The Elder Scrolls and the recent Fallout games. Starfield didn't even break my top 10 games for this year, and it's a really good year for games, so that's not to throw any shade on Bethesda. However, this game just feels empty. There's so much in this game, but little focus on what makes Bethesda games so great in my eyes. In Starfield, you can go anywhere, but that anywhere is usually nowhere. Space combat, ship travel, stories and characters, all things I was looking forward to feels half-baked for the need of them to present this game that is more about the journey than the destination. Graphically, Starfield is fantastic, and the new version of their creation engine is pretty impressive. When it works.
You alright? Have you felt any side effects?
Yeah, I can't see your fucking eyes. She's like, do you feel okay? And she's looking... She's blinking, but it's like, just, like, flesh. What really bummed me out about this is how unfun it is to go anywhere. You are plagued with menu after menu to even go from different planet to planet. Ship flying is basically non-existent, and any substance for it only exists right in front of the planet's atmosphere. You power up to jump through different star systems in a series of always looping cutscenes to go anywhere you want to go. Discovering planets is also a huge joke. The planets that are made by the devs are good, but most are procedurally generated and feel so empty. I appreciate that base creation is entirely optional, but so much of the game is focused on supporting the customizability of the game that no two people have the same experience. And on paper, that does sound like a pretty neat concept. However, Bethesda is known for crafting these really rich narratives and world building and story that I feel like is kind of on the back burner for that experience of the journey. When I'm spending hours clearing an uninhabited planet, scanning the same plant 15 times to get completion for it, just for nothing to be here but resources and a place to build a base for resources you don't really need, it just feels so monotonous and not nearly fun. When I was done clearing a planet and wasting all my ammo on the aliens chasing me as I run across the entire planet's surface because there are no local vehicles and limited places for you to land your ship, I'm greeted with a simple, "Hey, you did it." XP doesn't feel sweet when I could have gotten more in a quarter of the time doing any of the story missions. The reward for exploring is in the exploring, the journey and not the destination. Walking through the empty sandbox to find all the sand is not the same as exploring the tailor-made sandcastle and finding a giant crab or treasure inside. You did it. Now go make your own phone. We won't do it for you. This is really negative, but the core design philosophy of Starfield is clear. Explore the universe and make your own story. Bethesda is almost goading its players with mod support to add interesting things to do. And Bethesda even highlights going to their Discord to get more ideas from players for things to do if you get bored with this game. Honestly, wild stuff for them to even say. It makes me wonder, am I the problem? Are open world RPGs just not enough to get me to want to complete these worlds? While Bethesda does a great job with characters, is this bland story with little context and set in a very real-world life world, making it lose the fantasy-type wonder I have with the Elder Scrolls and Fallout? On paper, Starfield sounds like a slam dunk, but with so many features all feeling empty, loads of menus to get lost in, a real lack of depth with space combat, a lack of purpose and reward for space exploration, it made me not want to play the game. And it feels so bad to say that more times than not, I would go home from a long day of work, and instead of wanting to play Starfield, I went straight to a fan game for the VTuber agency Hololive, which is basically a Vampire Survivors clone. I had more fun playing HoloCure this year than Starfield, and I have more hours in it too. Oh god. It's got great music and great progression and a very addicting gameplay loop. Everyone who told me to play Vampire Survivors last year, you were 100% right. But now I don't need to play that one, because HoloCure is free, and I can also play as Fauna in that game. While I still had a month of Game Pass left from giving up on Starfield, I did get to play through one of the most anticipated RPGs of the year, Sea of Stars. From the creators of The Messenger comes this nostalgia-based JRPG-styled game that invokes notes of Chrono Trigger, Golden Sun, and Paper Mario as you play through a roughly 25 to 30 hour RPG. Quite a refreshing length. And this game is very proud to show you its influences, with many moments making me think, oh wow, that's what X game did already. Most notable are the game's visuals and soundtrack. Sea of Stars is gorgeous, with a great variety of scenery and animations that all look fantastic. And the soundtrack, which is in part done by the legendary Yasunori Mitsuda, composer of Chrono Trigger, in one of the best soundtracks of the year. Sea of Stars follows two Solstice warriors as they have their destiny to stop the end of the world, to keep things vague for you, and combat is very focused on weaknesses and timing attacks a la Paper Mario or Mario RPG to do extra damage. A lot of the specials are timing based too to keep combat fresh. I see a lot of criticism for this game talk about how repetitive the gameplay gets, and I'm inclined to agree. You will be using the same specials you get at the beginning over and over again throughout the run, which can be a bit boring after a while. Core gameplay outside of combat is more puzzle-based exploration through linear maps that link story beats together, and while fresh at first, the gameplay loop becomes very repetitive as well. The writing in this game with its main story also feels kind of weak to me. I wasn't a fan of the humor this game would insert into pretty serious situations. And the two main characters basically have zero character, while other party members barely exist or get introduced late that you don't have a lot to grip onto. Despite this, I still enjoyed my time with Sea of Stars, as it is visually and audibly a beautiful game. Definitely good if you want to remember the good old days of classic 90s era RPGs, but at this point for me personally, why not just replay those older classics? Had this game had a little bit more originality and bravery, it would have been a much more lasting impression on me. While Sea of Stars was a little bit easy for me as well, I do still recommend it if you want a very breezy RPG that doesn't take up a lot of your time, and it is also still on Game Pass. It feels good to say that Nintendo has finally released F-Zero from its prison, but also bad to say that it's for a 99 game that will probably be shut down within a year or two, but dang it, this game is so addicting. It's a touch-up and modernization of the original SNES classic that adds that 99 Battle Royale charm, similar to Tetris 99 and the late Mario 35 and Pac-Man 99. Oh, how we miss thee. Gameplay is quick and responsive, and races happen so quickly you can easily jump in and out. My main gripes with this one is how the biggest mode, Grand Prix, is only available on a 2-hour cycle with multiple races and you having to qualify in a certain place to move on to the next. This is what gets my heart pumping and adds so much excitement trying to qualify for each race. 99% of the time, you're just doing single races where qualifying per lap is honestly a joke. Grand Prix mode should be the main mode available at all times. There are other modes like Team Battles, Mini Grand Prix, which are 3 races instead of 5, and lots of customization that make your cars stand out. Nintendo did a great job with this one, and I do hope they keep it up for long, or even better, release an offline version for us to buy. As of now, they've released Queen and King Cups, and I believe there's going to be more DLC or some sort of expansion coming to the game soon, but it honestly might be my favorite 99 game yet. With each one of the 99 series, they get better and better. What 99 game would you want to see be made? For me personally, I don't really know, but anyone that they do, I will be playing.
Oh no! No! Wait!
Fallen Order is a great Souls-like Star Wars adventure that left me wanting more, so I was pretty excited to get into Star Wars Jedi Survivor and revisit Cal and the rest of the Mantis crew. Jedi Survivor follows the crew sometime later, and while the Star Wars content train kept going with a novel featuring the characters set between these games, there's a lot in the story here that alludes to these events, but much to my dismay, as I didn't read the book, it doesn't really talk about what exactly happened in those books. The overall story and plot here feels more like it's serving the Star Wars lore at large by featuring High Republic era concepts that Disney is pushing for in their canon currently. On top of the blatant, hey, here's some things that happened and some character growth that happened, but we won't tell you exactly what it was, just that the Mantis crew isn't really together right now, haha. And at times I felt a bit bad. It didn't really ruin the game for me, however, though, because there's a lot here that is to love. The overall story was pretty strong in this game, and in terms of gameplay, a lot of the tight linear level design has been changed to more open world type hubs that branch into linear sections, and the overall push towards open world game design I think was a little bit less engaging here. However, I did appreciate how accessible a lot of the game became in traversing through the different levels. Survivor is also much easier though, and I think they were trying to branch away from that more difficult Souls-like inspired game design to have a wider appeal for the massive Star Wars fandom. Despite those disappointments, there are some really cool moments here, and combat feels incredibly smooth and makes you feel unstoppable. I personally loved using the stance that involved having the blaster, but also dual-wielding lightsabers, double blade, and single blade all felt really good too. I love the Mantis crew, and there are some great emotional performances in this title, and it really is teeing up to have a third entry, and I really hope it comes sooner than I expect. I have to admit, I did not complete Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom this year, but from what I did play, even though I've been experiencing an open world fatigue, this game is still fantastic. To me, a lot of this game does still feel like Breath of the Wild, however, Tears of the Kingdom is not trying to be something that it's not. Nintendo has struck gold with the gameplay design and has only improved with more interesting abilities and the improvement on practically every aspect of its predecessor. Not even to mention the Fuse ability with vehicle-like creations, making traversing the familiar yet different Hyrule a breeze. Really, at release of this game, it just looked like more of Breath of the Wild to me, and I wasn't really that hyped to get into yet another 50+ hour open world game. Especially when Tears of the Kingdom was releasing like just after 2 other new games I was buying, and a month before a long JRPG I was very excited for. It was really just a bad time for me personally on release, and I feel like if it came out at a different time or a different year, I would have been much more invested into it. This is the top game for me that I will be finishing in 2024 because I know there is a lot to love here. Despite my small playtime, the dungeon design, the shrine design, the new abilities, traversing the world, reuniting Koroks, it's all amazing, and I know the second I turn my Nintendo Switch back on, I'm going to be sucked right back in. I really do need to spend a lot more time with this game, because what I have experienced is still phenomenal, so please just be gentle with me that this is a bit lower on the list than expected. Perhaps my favorite rhythm game in a long time, Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Final Bar Line is the quintessential Theatrhythm game. For those not in the know, Theatrhythm is a side-scrolling rhythm game from Square Enix featuring the vast soundtrack library from the Final Fantasy series, complete with characters, enemies, locations, and a lot more to add to the great love level to the series, while jamming out to some of the best songs in gaming. I love the 3DS entries of this game, and the arcade is also great if you have the chance to play it. And having like a million songs here on an updated version for Switch that you can play on the go or on console mode is a dream come true. There are also a ton of characters and DLC packs for other Square Enix properties too. Songs from Live Alive, the Mana series, Chrono Trigger, World Ends With You, and many more. If you love Final Fantasy and rhythm games, this is a no-brainer. The sheer level of content and refinement of the formula feels right at home on Nintendo Switch. It really is a true love letter to Final Fantasy, and even all the specific details and quirks, challenges in this game that reference very specific parts of Final Fantasy, it's amazing, and I do highly recommend it even if you're slightly interested in either rhythm games or just love Final Fantasy. I was confident we would never see Super Mario RPG ever again, and this excellent collaboration between Nintendo and Squaresoft shines so brightly on Nintendo Switch. I've played the original before, but long ago, I accidentally bumped my console halfway through my save file and it erased everything, and much to my dismay, I stopped playing. And after playing this re-release, I'm kind of sad that I did. While I'm not driven with nostalgia for my love for Super Mario RPG, its simplicity and lighthearted take on Mario and his world is a joy to play through. This game is flat out hilarious, and you can see the roots of the humor and tone here that have permeated the other Mario RPG games like Mario & Luigi and Paper Mario. I love the idea of actual platforming being an integral part of gameplay, as this is still a Mario game to its core. Despite the isometric design leading to some frustrating parts, it's an amazing idea that I wish I would see executed in other Mario RPG games. Super Mario RPG is short and does not require grinding, and the modern additions here, like the Chrono Trigger-inspired tech triple attacks, add to a lot of the fun. While last year gave us the amazing Live Alive, and this year gave us Super Mario RPG, what classic Super Nintendo RPG will we get in 2024? Maybe a new Earthbound? Maybe Lufia 2? A Breath of Fire game? I'll take any of them if they're as good as these. I felt so strongly about Final Fantasy XVI and how close to perfection this game could have been that I made an entire video about the issues I have with what would otherwise be a knockout title for the long-running RPG series. And while it is stretching what the average gamer would think when they hear the phrase Final Fantasy and RPG, Final Fantasy XVI is still a magnificent punch, pushing the main series forward to a new era. Over-the-top action, breathtaking visuals, amazing music, and the amazing world and characters here make 16 stand out above as one of the better narratives I've played in 2023. While from afar this game is explosive in its combat and visual flair, closer inspection shows the cracks of underdeveloped details in its core systems and repetitive gameplay loops that almost make the journey become stale at times. While being an absolute spectacle, Final Fantasy XVI is a step in the right direction for modernizing the series. I do recommend you take a look at my videos talking about the negatives, because I really only want to talk about the positives here and how much this game was just an amazing experience. If you've never played a Final Fantasy game before, or are intimidated by anything turn-based, this game is purely action RPG and it is very fun, despite it being a little bit on the easy side. You still have a lot of great customizable options with all of the different icons that you can use, and switching them out and just experimenting was a real great treat. I'd love to experience more with Clive and the gang, and with the recent announcement of the DLC packs, I will be looking at them pretty closely. I don't know how to put in the words how thrilled I was to see Super Mario being brought back to 2D. I had played the first new Super Mario Bros. Game back when I first got a DS, and I really didn't vibe with the controls and the style of that game, and kind of ignored the other entries in that series as they kind of all just blended together in my mind. Super Mario Wonder, however, is such an imaginative game, and every world, every level is unique in its own experience. There is so much classic 2D Mario DNA in Wonder, with tons of enemy and level design references from Super Mario 2, 3, and World that constantly put a smile on my face. The world map structure, jumping on the flagpole, the story snippets after finishing each castle, being able to throw shells upward, those little yellow flippy blocks, ninjas! The peak of this game for me was experiencing parts of Mario that I did not realize I missed so much. And who knows how much from the new Super Mario Bros. Line permeates this game that I just haven't seen yet. There is so much to revisit and see in this game that really just captures that wonder of the 2D Mario games.
When they showed the world map for the first time, they showed us all the levels you can go to, and I thought that this, which turns out to be Shining Falls, was actually Cheese Land from Mario Kart Super Circuit. And it made me think of Cheese Bridge from Super Mario World. And even just having that Ratatouille moment of making that connection, it made me cry. I didn't realize how much that 2D Mario and the enemies and the references and all the design tricks from Mario's history into this game would have hit me as emotionally as seeing what I thought was cheese would hit me. But it did, and it really just highlighted how special Super Mario World is to me.
When Nintendo has such a reputation for innovating on single titles and never bringing back concepts for sequels, seeing Wonder as basically a sequel to Super Mario World is so refreshing and makes Wonder feel like a celebration of all the 2D games. The new badge system makes playing every level so different based on how you approach it. Animations are so fluid, the art style and level variety is out of the park fantastic. Mario and the gang's facial expressions and positioning when moving and running make it easier to see more than just his side profile, so you see that expression. The music in this game, everything is just fantastic. Not even mentioning being able to play as everybody. We got Peach, we got Daisy, we got Luigi, Yoshi's or easy mode, we have Nabbit, because why the fuck not? The sheer scope, challenges, multiple ways to play, supporting multiplayer, this is the best Mario game since Super Mario World. And Super Mario Wonder is okay to share the same acronym as Super Mario World. And after playing this, it's really made me want to check out and see what people think about the other new Super Mario Bros. Games.
Though the Mario games are abstract to the utmost, they're also great at conveying a sense of wonder.
It should come to no surprise that Resident Evil 4 is my game of the year. I love Resident Evil 4, and it is a very important and influential game in gaming history, and tackling that for a brand new audience is a daunting challenge. And the team at Capcom has hit a grand slam with Resident Evil 4 Remake. The familiarity is done so well, and the modernization in setting, story, and mechanics are a very welcome change. While the original is built upon its, now, limited movement system, the remake is also built around its more rapid movement, being more fast-paced, yet allowing for more options in combat, like the welcoming parrying mechanic. Resident Evil 4 Remake still captures that perfect flow between chapters, goading players to explore and find treasures, the anticipation of the next purple flame signaling new upgrades at the merchant, making your kit better and better, and customizing your playstyle for how you want to see fit, just like in the original. It adapts the story beats in a more cohesive way and completely overhauls characters like Ashley and Luis to make them more sympathetic and frankly likable. There are dozens of people you will ask about Ashley from the original Resident Evil 4, and they will tell you how they just don't like her, how she's annoying, always asking you for help. But in this game, she feels so real, so genuine, an actual character, and more than just a plot device. Coming off of Resident Evil 2 Remake, seeing the contrast in how Leon has gone through everything, and seeing him here in a more gritty, hardened version hits hard. The characters in the world can still be goofy, but it is much more grounded while maintaining that important element of fun. The attention to detail, and even the smaller references for hardcore fans, is what makes this above and beyond special. My excitement Visiting certain rooms that were either mirrored or slightly changed filled me with so much joy just spotting the differences and seeing how they changed such iconic aspects of this game to fit a more modern setting for this game design. And everything that I remembered so fondly that ended up being missing from the main game was brought back with the DLC Separate Ways, which is insanely cheap for the loads of content it brings to the Resident Evil 4 story. Yet again making Ada's perspective fit more and cutting out the unnecessary segments that don't fit well with that story. This game also has a free VR mode, free. It is no surprise that Capcom has been delivering slam dunk after slam dunk, and they did what I thought wouldn't be possible, making a remake that doesn't make the original obsolete. Both games have their own differences, playstyles, and merit to play them. And that's what sets Resident Evil 4 Remake above other remakes, in that it understands its source material, it observes what will work in today's gaming landscape, and makes necessary changes that do not void or make the original core essence of the original invalid. Both games are still fantastic, and both games are still worthy of your time. Resident Evil 4 Remake is handled with so much care and support, and it's a good time to be a Resident Evil fan. I already knew this game was going to be high on my list when I was playing, but the moment for me that it really clicked, that I saw how creatively they added those little references and moments from the original game, was in the shooting gallery, when the bonus round starts and we finally hear the full version of the Drive intro car music. As I was blasting away at those targets, trying to get a high score to unlock a cute little keychain that would give me a bonus, I could not stop smiling. Objectively speaking, Baldur's Gate 3 to me is the game of the year, for its sheer impact on the industry, its players, and introducing the love of Dungeons & Dragons for new audiences, and reinvigorating it to die-hard fans. I've yet to play this one, so it is not on my personal list for this year, but I've seen so much of it, I've watched people play it, and I cannot escape the outpour of love and support the community has for Baldur's Gate 3. To me, it has truly defined 2023. There's also so many other games that I didn't get to play this year. Street Fighter VI made fighting games look fun for me, Alan Wake 2 became my top of my horror backlog, Spider-Man 2 looks like it will yank me out of my open world fatigue, sequels to long-lasting series like Pikmin and Armored Core made me finally want to play the older ones too, Dead Space and Metroid Prime further pushed the power of a well-done remaster, WarioWare Smooth Moves got a sequel, Bluey had a video game this year, just so much. And as we look ahead to 2024, there are a couple titles that I'm looking forward to, and while two of my favorite games of all time have received sequels or remakes, another one of my all-time favorites is getting another entry in its remake series, and I could not be more excited for it.
2023 has been my favorite year for video games in a while, and it was such an explosive year for good, but also, unfortunately, for bad for those who make video games. If you're watching this video and had any part in making any of these games that means so much to us, thank you. Thank you so much for everything you sacrificed to help bring these amazing experiences for wide audiences to enjoy. And if you're a Swoosh Bear subscriber already, thanks so much for sticking around, and if you're not, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out, and I love making these videos, and okay, I'm sorry, okay, anyway, thanks, I'll see you guys next year.
That's the one that reacts to intimidation.
Oh, like you gotta, hey, get out of here! Get out of here!
Yeah. Bugger off.
You,
All right.
I'll watch the door, I'll watch it, and you can watch the monitors.
Alright. I'm watching.
Get out of here. Is it better than Oh! Oh no! Oh! Dude, leave! We gotta leave. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
Be careful coming back. Where are you? Where you are?
Go, it's coming back, it's coming back, it's coming back! Go! Ow! Ow!
Launch! Holy shit.
We did it!